Oh, we have UT Martin on Thursday, and then we have SEMO on Saturday again.
Again.
Yeah, we just had them this past Saturday. Lost
Yeah.
in double overtime.
Man, double OT.
Who y'all got? That's funny. My the first at Cincinnati, the only game we got to play, we lost in double OT.
Oh, shoot.
Oh,
Really?
yeah.
You guys only played one game? I thought you played like 3.
At Cincinnati, no, we had a scrimmage and then a game. Cincinnati
Oh,
Christian.
yeah. I guess it was the scrimmage.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah, no.
That's
Who
crazy.
y'all got?
But Friday, we play Friday, Saturday against West Georgia.
Okay.
And we'll see how it goes, you know.
Oh, the season.
Hopefully we
man.
play. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's all that matters. I just hope we play.
Yeah.
But anyway, welcome into the Mind of a Coach podcast. These are your hosts, Coach Nathan Moran and Coach Asa Duvall, episode 18. And just want to say thank you again to everybody that has joined in thus far. The start of the new year, I guess we had a podcast, I guess, kind of at the end of the year. I guess it came out January 1 is when it was released. But This is the real first podcast of the new year. So, Asa, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm alive and kicking, dude. I can't complain. Another day, another dollar. Just trying to grind through this season and get some wins any way we possibly can. So I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. And yes, another day, another dollar. Wow. Inspirational.
Yeah, right.
Inspirational. But I'm good, Ace. Like I said, the plan is to play Friday. So how could I not be good?
No.
We've only gotten to play 2 out of 4 games that we were supposed to. So,
really?
I mean, we were supposed to play, I guess, 5 games right now.
Okay,
and 4 of which, or no, 5 games. We were supposed to play 5 games. So
are a lot of y'all teams in y'all's conference, are those games getting canceled, or is there some stuff? Is the virus run rampant in y'all's conference, or what? Or is it just what's going on?
It's just one test. All you have to do is have one person out of each team.
So one person in the whole program test positive, and y'all are shut down.
Yep, no close contact. Because the way it's working is, if it's close contact, if it's like a good player or they don't want to play you, they can just tie it to a bunch of people.
Yeah, true.
Goodness. Then all of a sudden, because we only the minimum requirement of games is 12, so they can just be like, oh well, we're 3-0. Maybe we don't want to play you this week.
Ours isn't that. Our rules aren't that strict, but dang man, that sucks.
We'll see if the conference keeps those rules throughout the rest of it. Because I mean, once again, we've had 0 positive tests, 0. So with the Z, nilch. I mean,
with the knock on.
Yeah, sure, but and then we haven't played 4 out of 5 games.
Yeah. Dang.
So I mean, we're doing our part. It's just a little irritating that we can't play because one person tests positive. But anyway, Asa, do you have either a weekly positivity or do you have a historical fact?
I do have a historical fact. Actually, I came prepared today. I was watching the NBA and I saw Carmelo he's still playing and still scoring some points, and it made me go back and look and see how many players do you know how many players in the history of the NBA have scored 30,000 or more points? How many?
12.
Incorrect. That is incorrect.
More?
Less.
11.
Less.
Really? 7?
7. There we go. Yeah.
Wait, how many has Melo scored?
Melo's only at, well, I say only. That's not a nice way to put it. He's at 26,509.
See, that's where you got me because I thought, what is Melo? Is Melo 12th?
I didn't mean to throw you off like saying Melo was in it or close to it or anything. Yeah.
I was just thinking, what is Melo and like how many people have scored the same amount as Melo? Is Melo 12th now?
Melo is
or 6th.
He's 14th. Melo's
14th. Okay.
Yeah. So Shaquille O'Neal has 28,596, and then Wilt Chamberlain is the first one in the 30,000 point club at 31,419.
Wow. That is a lot of points. People get excited. People put balls up for just having 1,000 points.
I know.
That's just 2.
What's
in
that?
8 years.
Is that one of those in the background? One of those 1,000?
Yeah, I got the college one. I got the high school one, but that's in 8 years. No, excuse me, 9 years
9
of
years,
work.
Yeah.
They do 30,000 and
They
12 years.
Play a lot more games, so a whole lot more.
They're also a lot better. That's a different topic for a different day. Asa, man, the first one of the new year, your chest is looking like it's a little heavy. Looks like you need to get something off of it.
All right. So obviously Nashville had the not completely catastrophic, but could have been very catastrophic bombing on Christmas morning.
Yeah,
I was sitting there watching the news broadcast and all the stuff that was coming out about it. And, they got the security cameras, the footage, they're showing that of the van and everything. And I'm looking down at my phone and I'm like, this phone has an incredible camera on it. Okay. It can point out anything on anybody's face. It is the most clear pictures. It's unbelievable. And then I'm watching the news. Okay. And they're trying to find this bomber from Nashville. And you can't even make out anything. Our security cameras, Nathan, you can barely even make out a license plate or somebody's face. How is it that on our phones, we have these incredible HD cameras, yet our security cameras that we actually need when things go wrong are like, they were made back in like 1986 or something. It's ridiculous, man. How on earth has Apple not come into the security camera industry and been like, yo, use our stuff. Y'all may actually need it. It might come in handy. I don't get it. It makes no sense. Please help me out.
So maybe you do have a pitch for Apple.
Maybe. Seriously, dude, you see, hey, this is a suspect for so-and-so wanted for this. And like, you can barely make out their face.
And it's super pixelated. That's funny.
The license plate, but you can't even see the license plate. How is it? Make it make sense, Nathan.
Yeah. I can't. And you know, what's crazy is that somehow they can still identify the person like through the blurry image.
Yeah, they enhance it. I don't know. It's frustrating to me. I'm like, this is crazy. This makes no sense. As if anything else didn't add up. That's not making any sense to me either. But seriously, let's get some better security cameras, please.
All right. Hey, that's fair. Definitely need to get some better security cameras out there. But Asa, that leads us into our guest, or my 3 keys, which obviously, the start of the new year, doing this no different. Passing it along to our guest this week. I'm excited for what he's got to say. One of the people that we know well, and let's just go ahead and get into it. What's going on?
What is happening?
Oh, you are in for it tonight, Coach.
Why you think so? I don't know if I'm ready for this.
Look at that hair. You got a flow. As the kids are calling it, you've got a head of lettuce right now.
Oh my gosh, as the kids are saying, I love.
You got a little gold.
That's what the kids are saying.
In there now.
A little gold tint? No,
a little gold. At least on my screen.
Silver,
Hear that? But guys, thank you for coming on. This is our first guest of the new year, so it's got to be special. This is Coach Roger Idstrom. Coach Roger Idstrom was a graduate of Mars Hill College, where you also played, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Outstanding point guard for those that don't know.
Idstrom spent time. A big stretch. Yes, go ahead.
All right. Spent time on staff at his alma mater, as well as UNC Asheville, Montreat.
That's that how you correct. Say it? Montreat College.
You're really going to have to help me with this one. And Wabash
Valley.
You got it, Asa.
Yep.
Wabash Valley College before going to Gardner-Webb, where in his final season, Gardner-Webb went 25-5 and made the NCAA tournament for the first time in its history. From there, he joined the staff at Belmont. From Belmont to Stetson to Lipscomb since 2013. He's been there. He coached Asa, Duvall, and myself, his wife, Jennifer, and 2 sons, Dane and Logan. Also my twins. We share a birthday.
Triplets.
Oh, yeah. I said twins. They are twins. I am a triplet.
Twins, yeah.
But Coach Idstrom, thank you for joining us. Gosh, who could we have found better than Coach Idstrom to start our first podcast?
Probably a lot of people, but I'm proud to be on here for sure.
Thank you for coming on, Coach. I appreciate it. How you doing?
Doing great. Really, really well. How are you guys doing?
Good. Can't complain. Alive and kicking. Can't complain. Just one day at a time. You know how it is.
Yep.
I'm extremely grateful that you're done scaring me. I mean, that's for
sure.
You.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And how did
I know you always like to play tricks on us, Coach Idstrom. Like you used to love sneaking behind corners. Like you and Coach Alexander loved that stuff. You loved it.
Yeah, it was fun to keep you guys on your toes.
But this wasn't a funny one, Coach. And I'm just very glad that you're here and you're able to be on this podcast. We love you.
Well, I appreciate it.
Thankful for all that you've done for us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I love this podcast. I'm telling you, it's I'm going to be honest. When I first heard the two of you were doing a podcast, I was very, very leery of what this thing was going to be.
Oh, goodness.
And I'm telling you, you guys are doing a terrific job. This is a lot of fun.
Be honest. Be real honest, though.
I'm being honest. You guys are doing a terrific job, and you've had great guests, and it's been fun. This is a good thing.
Thank you.
Yes,
we appreciate it, Coach.
Nate and I were talking last week. It's him, man. He gave me the call and said we're going to do it, so it's him. So we appreciate that for sure.
No doubt.
Give us all right. Hey, what's going on? What's new with you? Give us the lowdown and the life of Coach Idstrom right now. What's going on?
With the life of it's like you guys who are experiencing right now.
Yeah,
everything is different with this season right now. You're in the middle of a season and there is nothing normal about this season. And, there are pros and cons. And I love the fact that you guys I think it was your last podcast, talked about how the fact that, hey, let's don't act like everything in 2020 was terrible. There were some good things that happened in it too. And it carried over into this season, but it is a difficult season to maneuver with COVID and everything else that's going on. And there's nothing normal, and trying to figure out practices, and you've got players who are used to a certain way to do things in college, and you have freshmen coming in who have no idea what a real college experience is even like, because they've never experienced it yet. And so they don't know what it's like. And, we're not allowed to have team meetings in our locker room and those kinds of things. So just everything is different this year. So trying to maneuver it like everybody. And we've had a lot of issues with COVID and some shutdowns, and sometimes not the whole team, but players. And we had a game last Friday against Liberty, and it was the first day we've had all 16 players able to be out on the court. First day the whole year.
Are you serious?
Including practice.
Including practice, everything. The whole year. It's the first time we've had all 16 on the floor.
Wow.
That's unbelievable.
It really is. So there's a lot of things that you have to maneuver there that the general public doesn't know, or the fans don't know, that make things more difficult when you're talking about rotations and getting guys on the practice floor together, all of that kind of stuff. It's just different. And we're not alone in that. Most programs are dealing with the same thing. So you just have to figure out how you're going to handle that and move forward and keep getting better.
So how has that forced you to change your approach going into this year? I guess give us some ways that you have had to change your approach and kind of look at things differently with all the changes this year and the different protocols and things of that nature.
Well, one thing is we never take a day for granted, because you just never know when you're going to be shut down. So, we had a situation where we thought we had a lot of time to get ready for the season, and we were going to implement things, different things each week. And then all of a sudden our whole program gets shut down for 2 weeks. And so there's 2 weeks of things you're going to implement that have to be, jammed in there in the next 2 weeks. And then you've got a couple of days where you don't have everybody together, and you might have a week where you have 5 guys missing. So they're missing out on teaching during that time. So it's constant teaching and reteaching and those kinds of things, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. We had a guy that he was contact traced 4 times. And so that's, 14 days at a time that he's out. And in his last time is when the CDC changed their guidelines from 14 to 7 days. So we're coming back from Cincinnati on a trip and say, hey, get to campus tonight, and tomorrow you'll test and start practicing. And he tests the next day and he's positive. So he's got 17 days out from that point on. So, so those kinds of things are just hard. So you're having to deal with the emotions of guys and just different things that they're having to go through. And, mental health is a real thing. It's not something that is to be laughed at, because, these college students, and especially the athletes, are going through so many different things. You have to be aware of what's going on with people mentally through this whole process.
That's one of the
What are
things
some?
that yeah, no, you go ahead, Nate. My bad.
What are some of the steps that you guys are taking right now to combat this problem with mental health?
Yeah, I'm not going to say that we have it all figured out and how to approach it and all that. You know, the main things is we're going to be, as a staff, just try to be more aware as a staff, but then even more so, you know, we have position groups, and so you meet with those guys one-on-one or in small groups, and you just try to ask questions and feel some guys out. And you know, you also kind of snoop around a little bit and ask other guys, say, hey, so and so looks like he's down a little bit, you know, anything that's going on. And sometimes other players will shed light into some things that are happening with a teammate. So you know, that's the way that we're doing it right now. I'm sure there's better ways and more systematic ways that you can go about doing it, but that's how we're doing it.
Yeah, that's really good. All right, so I'm going to shift away from COVID, and you've been a coach much longer than the COVID year. So one of my biggest questions I have for you is, what did you value most about coaching when you were thinking about getting into this industry? What did you value most when you first entered? First, what do you value most as a coach now that you are a vet, some may say?
A vet, okay. Yeah, old. Yeah. You know, that's interesting to think about. You know, when I first got into it, I didn't know for sure that I wanted to get into coaching until my last year and a half of college. And that's what I knew for sure, you know, and there's a part of me that thought business, and then there's a part of me that thought ministry. And, you know, for me, when I first got into it, what I valued the most was relationships. And I wanted to coach at the college level because for me, college was a huge experience. It's where I won't go so far as to say I became a man, but a lot of the things that became lifelong deals for me happened while I was in college. You know, my faith became real to me. I grew up, you know, financially, those kinds of things where I learned so much through the college years. And they were just instrumental in my growth. And I wanted to coach in college, not because the college level was better than the high school level. It was because I wanted to be around young guys who were becoming men. You know, they got away from home for the first time, and they were starting to make decisions that will last a lifetime. You know, who they become oftentimes is who they become while they're in college. And during those years from 18 to 22, 18 to 23, 18 to 25, as Asa was when he finished up. You knew that was coming, yeah. You know, but that was important to me. And so I'm going to be honest, like there was a part of me later on in my career that, you know, you get married, you have kids, then there's pressure with the job, there's winning that's important, those kind of things. And there was probably a couple of years where, even though I still value that, I probably began to value winning just as much or more, and maybe didn't treat everybody the way that I should have treated. I don't think I treated them horrible, but I don't think my intent all the time was to help them grow. I wanted them to grow, but they needed to help us win. You know, that was the bottom line. And so, you know, I started to notice that and shifted back to it. And I think now, you know, it's kind of going back, you know, you got to know your why. And, you know, for me, it's back to, yeah, we're going to win, and we love to compete, and we love to talk about X's and O's and to player development and all that kind of stuff. But it's about people growing. And you know, if you're not investing in the guys in your program, then you're selling yourself short, and you're selling your program short.
That's great. And just before we get into more, I mean, you've lived it. So I'm a firsthand example of that. But Asa, what you got?
I was just gonna say, what are some steps that like a college athlete can take to learn the things that you did and value the things that you value coming out of college? What's something that a college athlete can some steps that they can take to experience the same thing you did and come out the way that you did from college, just off the top?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is that you can't insulate yourself. You know, you can't be just in your own little world of being a college athlete and being a part of the team. You know, you have to branch out. And but even if you're doing things that's a part of the program, you know, you got to tap in to your coaches and to the other people in the athletic department and try to learn things from those people and ask questions, those kinds of things with the people around you. But then branch out, you know, get to know professors, get to know other people on campus, and become, you know, it's if you haven't done it in high school, then in college, you better start learning to become a lifelong learner, at that point where you just continue to pepper people with questions all the time because you want to learn, because you want to get better at things in life, and, get some mentors, the people who are really going to build into you. And obviously coaches are great. You went to the Towel early, Asa. You went to the Towel early right there. Man. No, but you need to find some mentors. Hopefully your coaches are going to be mentors for sure, but other people in the athletic department, other people on campus. And then there's, for me, what I've learned later in life, I didn't learn this in college, but I've had mentors that I've never met, and because of things like this, the podcasts, because of books that you read, those kind of things, some of those people can become mentors to you. You want to go meet face to face with someone, but most of the things they're going to tell you have already been written down in their books. So those people can become mentors to you just by reading and listening to podcasts, those types of things.
I was going to get to this later, but now that you brought that up, when I decided I was going to start coaching for the first time, I came and met with you. You were one of the couple people that I actually met with before I decided to become a coach.
Right.
And you told me, you said, there was never a great leader that wasn't a great reader.
Right.
And later on, towards the end of the podcast, I want to get a couple book suggestions from you, but I just want to throw that out there because that was one of the things that stuck out to me that you said, to me before I started my coaching journey.
Right. That's cool. Really cool.
All right. So you also said, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Coach.
No, you're good. Go.
You also talked about, so Asa, you kind of bounced the question off of what would athletes basically need, the like steps they would take basically when they're leaving the college realm and going into life. So when you left the college realm and went into life, that was also still in basketball. What would you give your younger self? What advice would you give your younger self? Or just looking at the two people on the screen, what advice would you give to young coaches starting out?
Yeah, well, number one is, to be ready to work hard, and to really get in the trenches and do whatever's necessary and become a learner, from the people around you, those kinds of things, but be willing to do any of the little work, the little things that are going on. And today I would say, make sure you understand everything you can about video and everything you can about analytics, because it's becoming such a huge part. And for old guys like me who don't understand video and analytics and some of that stuff like you younger guys do, that's a huge advantage for you. So take advantage of that and be really skilled in those types of things where the older generation just doesn't know that as much. But the game has moved toward that so much, and it's such a huge part of the game now. The more you can be really competent in that, the better chance you have of moving up in the profession.
So how much do you guys use analytics at Lipscomb specifically?
Yeah, we don't use it as much as we did before. When Casey Alexander was there, he became a huge fan of analytics, and we did more and more of that. We still use it some, we use some things, like one of the things that's interesting for us right now this year is we're actually counting passes. How many passes are you making in a game? And then we talk about possessions, if you've had.
Okay, hang on. Can I stop you right there real quick? Explain what went into the thought process of counting passes. What are y'all using it for? Where are you? Yeah.
Well, we just see value in moving the ball, and we've heard other people talk about moving the ball, and you hear about people talk about, the percentage, your shooting percentage, how it goes up when it gets to the second side of the floor, and then even more so when it gets to the third side of the floor, those kind of things. And so we've done a little bit of that about shifting sides of the floor, but mostly it's about passes and getting those in there. And we've been blown away, absolutely blown away. When you have 5 or more passes within the offense, our shooting percentage is over 50%. There are times there's been games where, we've shot 65, 70% with it's 5 or more, and then you're shooting 22% with under 5.
Now, do you think that's because the more passes you have, the more chance it gives the defense to mess up, and then you're getting a better quality shot after the more passes you make?
That's exactly it. How many defenses are great out there? There's some for sure, but how many are great where they're going to be able to be in a great defensive possession, position, for the whole possession, and there's not many. So you can get them to break down at some point, and you just have to be willing to go a little bit later in the shot clock. And, we're still going to average a lot of points, and we're not going to try to run it to the end of the shot clock every time. We're going to try to get a great shot, though.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, going back to when I was playing, I hated 4-on-4 shell.
Yes.
Just guarding all those passes.
Right. Exactly.
Maybe we're just breaking into old science here.
So you think about, for you guys, you both played at Lipscomb when we were 4 out, 1 in, and we didn't just come down and enter the ball into the post on the strong side. You want to get the ball moving. Get the defense to shift and get the way that they guard the post differently as they shift sides, those kinds of things. So you're trying to break the defense down, and that's where you come off a stagger or you slip a screen or whatever. The more passes into the offense, the more chances you have of finding the defense asleep or making a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's good.
You were about to say, before I interrupted you, you were about to say something about you were passes and then into possessions. You were going to say something about that. No,
just that the more passes into it, the better our percentage, and that our percentage has been really low at times when there's less than 5 passes. You go through a whole game and less than 5 passes, and we were shooting 25% or 18%, and it just really showed that how we needed to get the ball moving. And some of that too, and this is probably even more of a point for that, is that includes transition. If it's a breakaway or one pass and you score it, well, that's part of the good part of the percentage. And so our percentages are probably even lower if we get into a half court set and we make fewer passes.
Wow.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see that nationally and see with every team.
I was literally just thinking I would love to look up KenPom and see if there was some kind of stat or something on there.
There probably is. Yeah.
Yeah. They got everything.
Yeah. Casey was real big in the KenPom. I remember that. He was real big.
Absolutely. That was good. And he was creative too. He created his own analytics, if you would, things that he thought were important for, different things, and created his own deal with it. And it was good for us. It helped us look at things a little bit differently. And one of the things that was really big for us at that point was points per possession, for transition, for half court, for offensive rebounds, those types of things. So, you want to get over a point per possession on offense and under a point for defense.
Yeah. I mean, even as a player, I remember Casey throwing all these KenPom stats. You're like, golly, these are super detailed. Like what, you're not even fully comprehending them all the time while it's going on. But now looking back, it's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense now. And I'm glad he relayed that information to us the way he did.
That's great. Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting how at different schools you keep different stats or what you value, I guess, because even last year it was super detailed. I thought Coach Sundance Wicks did such a good job at doing that. We had the resources to do it. We had enough coaches on staff, and we tracked paint touch threes. We tracked non-offense threes or no offense threes, basically like off the dribble, like I'm just breaking it down. Paint touch twos, non-paint touch twos, offense threes, all that stuff. And then it was like board putbacks and then like block twos.
Right.
And you go back and look at it, and paint touch 3 is by far the best number that we had.
Really? Interesting.
And we emphasized it because it's just playing inside out, and that could be even post feed and then out, passing it out. But that's where we had the most value last year was paint touch threes. When you look at the most, what do you think was the least valued?
The least valued, I'd say just 1 or 2 passes and shooting a 3.
It was actually non-paint touch twos.
Oh well, yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
The pull-up jump shot. I mean, obviously you've seen it in analytics in the NBA, and you've seen it. I mean, I think there was only one person allowed to take a pull-up jump shot on our team when I was playing, and he has a reason to. He's in the league now, so
no doubt. But it is funny because you talk about the analytics, and it is definitely true that that's the worst percentage shot that you can take. But there are guys that is their skill set. That's where they thrive. So I think you got to make sure that you let those players do that. Josh Williams played for us, and he was really good at that. He was really good at 15-footers and those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, we have guys now at Lee that they can shoot the heck out of it from mid-range. So it's like if they can shoot just as good as that and higher percentage than some of our other guys can shoot at the rim, why would we not wanting them to take the shots? So
that's true. I want to know how big your staff was in Missouri. Golly, all those things you charted, that's huge.
Yeah, I did that. Some other people did some other things. Gosh, we had 1, 2, 3, 4. We had 5 people basically, because our student assistant was really good.
Good.
Yeah, but anyway, all right. So Coach Idstrom, I'm gonna go ahead and fly into this one.
Okay.
So I do a 3 keys every week, and when I started, it was like, I'm going to give the keys until we got some good guests on. And I was like, I do not need to give the keys. I need to learn them from other people. All right. So my 3 keys today are, what are the 3 keys to having the biggest impact possible on players? Because one, before you answer, for me, I'm going to go ahead and get a little story. If you didn't know, when my junior year, I had some stuff going on and you were there for me, and I'll never forget it. I think I've told you this 1,000 times since everything's gone down, but, I mean, I remember that more than anything I can remember about on court. And I think that's so important for coaches to know too, is who cares if you win 1,000 games, if no one's going to be there at your funeral or be by your side when you're at the hospital at the end of the day. Like, that's what I want. And I just want to let you know, love you. But anyway, 3 keys to having the biggest impact possible on players.
Goodness gracious. I don't know that you're going to have the answer to the 3 keys and all, but, yeah,
it's okay. Hey,
off the top of my head, what you said is really important. Don't be wrong. Yeah, thanks. What you said is important. Is you have to genuinely care about people. You have to really care about them, and you can't just go into this thinking that you're going to use people just to get wins. You have to care about them. You have to get to know them. You have to ask questions. You have to be involved in their life, and I think that's probably the number one thing with it. Thinking about that too. And I'm not sure I'm always real good at this, but you have to be consistent with it. And, that's a hard thing to do because we're all kind of self-absorbed at certain times. And, but you have to be consistent in the relationships, which is in anything, but, especially with players and all that. And I think the other thing I'll say, and there's probably 15 other things you could say, but I'd say you have to be willing to speak truth. And that's not always easy. It's not always easy to hear, and it's not always easy to say. And you've got to be willing to speak the truth in situations, because that's all we really have. You have to know exactly what's going on and be truthful with it. And, you've got to be ready when that time comes. You might have some things that you would love to tell a player, but not sure that player's, ready to hear some of it. And then that moment that it comes where you think, okay, this is it. He's ready to hear this. You got to be willing to speak it. And, but you can't speak truth, I don't think, until you have that relationship. You can't speak now. And that's probably more so speaking truth when it hurts that person, when it talks about some changes that need to be made. It's obviously easy to speak truth when you're talking about the great things that are going on in that person's life and what they're doing well. But when you see some things that maybe aren't right, it's harder to say those things, but you've got to be able to say them. But you can't do that and have that person accept it without a relationship and have the trust that's built there through the time. And that doesn't happen. You got guys that come in as freshmen, and you can't do that right away. You got to take some time to build that relationship and build trust before you can speak truth in there.
So. Yeah, that's really good. That's really good.
Can I go ask him something real quick, Nate?
No way.
All right. So you went to 4 NCAA tournaments at Belmont, correct? And then the one so far at Lipscomb. Hopefully there's more for y'all in the future.
Yes, I hope so.
Gardner Webb, that was a Division II NCAA tournament. Is that correct?
2 NCAA tournament, right?
You give us
and none at Stetson, correct?
None at Stetson.
Sorry.
What oh man, what could have been? What? All right. On a serious note, what are some common themes amongst the championship teams? What are some common themes, the characteristics that they all possess just across the board?
Yeah. Well, for us, character was a big part. We had a bunch of guys who had great character. Now, that doesn't mean everybody's perfect, because none of us are perfect, and we're not going to get into all that. But they had strong character, and they had unselfishness. They really, we had a team and I'll go to some of your teams and talk about, we can joke around and, people can talk about, Garrison maybe being selfish, and yes, he cared. Garrison wanted to win, he wanted to score a lot too, but he wanted to win. He hated losing, and he didn't care if he was the one who scored all the time. He wanted to score, don't get me wrong, but he gave up a shot at NC State where, he could have put the shot in to take the lead, and he passed it over to Kenny Cooper, who had a better shot, and he didn't care. He wanted to win. And that's the common theme up and down the line. And I also think that, with championship teams for the most part, and I think that was true with you guys at Lipscomb, but certainly the 4 teams at Belmont that went to the tournament, is that every single guy up and down the line was into the team. Every single guy. So there was it didn't mean that every guy played as well, but every guy was into what was going on and cared about winning and did whatever they could do to impact winning. And I think that's a huge, huge part of it is building a program. It's not just a team, it's a program that genuinely cares about doing the things that are important to win and being together on it.
Is there one thing that is more important in the recruiting process, or not recruiting process, in the culture building process? Is it recruiting? Is it having 4-year guys? Is it having 5-year guys, et cetera? Like, is there one thing you can put your finger on and be like, yeah, that's it?
I'm not sure that there really is one thing. There's programs that do it differently, that have strong cultures. But if I had to pick one thing, it would be bringing the right person in as far as their character. Who are they? What are they about? You've got an ability in college to bring in the right type of people that fit your program. And I just don't think that you can sacrifice character and, selfishness, those kinds of things, if you're going to build a championship program. And so you can take care of a lot of that on the front end before you have to get into building your team once they get there. So you can bring the right kind of people in.
Yeah, that's really good.
One of my favorite sayings that you were kind of just hitting on a second ago is, it's amazing what can happen when no one cares who gets the credit.
Absolutely.
I mean, the best teams I've ever been a part of, not a single person cared who got the credit. And, luckily we won. And that's what happened. That's a result of not caring who gets the credit.
That's right.
Even bouncing that off that, you don't recognize it at the time, how much Adam Nottaboom, how much Coach Idstrom, how much Steve Draben, how much Sean Rotiliano, like how much the utility per se we are right now. Like, everyone looks at head coach and players. I mean, typically that's what fans look at. And you don't realize how much work that these people are putting in. You don't realize that Adam Nottaboom is calling people all day, every day, trying to get things set up. And he is the definition, in my opinion, of exceeding in your role. I thought he was an all-star in his role, because Adam Jones was an all-star, and it was like, and Adam Nottaboom was just like trying to do everything. Like it was like crazy how hard he worked, and he could drive some people nuts at time, but I would tell him that, but like, if you know Adam Nottaboom and don't love him for the man he is, because he truly did it because he cared. And absolutely. I think when you look at it, when you don't care who gets the credit, I look at those guys. I look at, okay, well, we also have the 5 or 7 people at the end of the bench, but what about the coaches that aren't getting the credit for all the scouting they're doing, all the time they're spending, the fact that they're going to bed at 2 a.m. some mornings? I mean, it's crazy. And I felt like at Lipscomb, it was a total buy-in by players, coaches, staff.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Yeah, and the athletic trainers who are there all the time, and even on the day offs to have treatment with guys, they never get a day off. We've had some unbelievable managers through the year. You talk about guys who never get credit, who are just behind the scenes doing things constantly and never get any of the credit. And so there's a lot of unsung heroes, that go into this, and every single person's a part of building the culture. You have to have the right people involved in all of those spots.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
Do you have any desire to be a head coach?
Yeah, I would love to be a head coach, and people ask me that all the time. And I've had a couple of opportunities to do it at the college level that were not Division I, and I just decided that it wasn't what I wanted at the time. And one of them was when I was at Belmont, and well, it was just in another state. I won't tell you what state, but it was a state that my wife and I decided we just didn't want to move there. And we were talking about maybe having a family, and thought, you never take a job and think you're going to be there short term. You got to think you're going to be there long term. And so we thought, is this where we want to raise a family someday? And we just decided not to do it. And but I am a little different in that even though I want to be a head coach, I don't have that all-consuming desire to do whatever it takes to be a head coach, no matter where it is. I don't need to be the guy that calls all the shots. And I think there's something to be learned from, I'll call it leading second, where you're not the one in charge, but you still are in charge of a lot of things, and you still have a lot of responsibilities. And so, you need to learn how to lead second, and how to lead when there you go. I like it. Like, who is that? Clay Scroggins? Is that it?
It's phenomenal.
Yeah. So anyway, those things are, I'm fine with being an assistant my whole career. I don't have to be a head coach, but I would love an opportunity if the right one presented itself.
Yeah. Interesting.
That is. But go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, go ahead, Asa.
I was just going to ask him about his playing days, because I've never talked to him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
At all. I mean, what kind of player were you? Or
my playing days were short. I played at a really good high school in Louisville, Kentucky, Male High School. And
Male, yeah, I forgot you went to Male.
That's right. And
there's some Male ties in the Duval family.
I know it. You guys actually own the building, I think.
Well,
the family.
It's a stretch, but there's somebody in the family that, yeah.
You said at Male, correct?
Pardon?
At Male?
Male High School.
Yeah. And female.
And female. There's females, yes.
Wasn't there a female, like it was literally female high school or something?
No. What happened was it was nobody wants to listen to this. It's the oldest high school west of the Allegheny Mountains, and there were only males way back in the day. And then the second school came in. It was just called high school. And the second school came into town, and it was co-ed. So they just started naming this one Male High School.
Well,
that's pretty funny.
A lot of legend. Darryl Griffith, didn't he go there?
Darryl Griffith went there. I think there's 27 NBA players who've played there.
Really?
Yeah.
But anyway, so you played at Male.
Yeah, and then I went to Mars Hill College.
Correct.
And played there. Well, at Male, my junior year is the first time I had a knee injury where I tore my ACL. And so I was out for a while, came back, got hurt again my senior year. And so I really didn't get to play hardly any those last 2 years. And so I decided I was just going to go to college and really not play ball. But I got there at Mars Hill, and I knew some people before I went there. And so I talked to them about playing, and they knew who I was. And so I ended up getting a scholarship to play there at Mars Hill. And my second year there, I tore my knee up again. And so I was getting ready to go have my third operation. And at that point, I was just like, this is it. There's no way I'm going to be able to continue to play. Knee surgeries are a whole lot better today than they were back then. It was my first one. I was in a full leg cast for 2 months, didn't do anything. And you wake up today from an ACL surgery and they have you moving right away. So, the approach is way different than it was back then. I've continued to have knee problems throughout the years, but I just knew at that point that was it. And so I actually got into coaching my senior year in college. I didn't play and ended up coaching there. So that's how I got into it. So I was not a great player. I was a point guard. I was more of a leader and a distributor and those kinds of things than I was a scorer. But I was not a great player at all.
What was I about to ask? What was the moment or the time? When did you know that you were in love with basketball? What moment made you realize that you like, all right, I love this. I want to be involved with this. I want to do this. And what was that moment, Coach? Because the reason I asked, Coach King we had him on a while back, and he he pointed out the time that he knew he was in love with basketball, and I was curious.
Right. Well, I played all the sports growing up, including soccer. So I played 4 sports, as I was younger. And then when I was in 8th grade, I went to watch a family friend play way over in Eastern Kentucky. He was a senior that year at Fairview High School in Kentucky. And it was senior night, and he scored 45 points that night. It was before the 3-point line. And so, I mean, he was unbelievable. And at that point, I just kind of felt like this is it. This is the sport that I want to play. I want to be like him. And this is the sport that I really love more than any of the other sports. And I was probably better at baseball than I was basketball, but this was the sport I loved. And so at that point on, I quit playing all the other sports and just focused on basketball from that point on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nate, do you know when you fell in love with basketball?
Yeah. I mean, before I even remember things.
So
I mean, I know I started. I
always liked it, but I mean, I'm saying like there was a moment where I was like, oh wow, I love this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
what was it?
Go ahead.
It was after my 8th grade year. I was playing AAU for Mickey Allen, who is the AD now at Tennessee State. And I was with Josh Lester, DeMontre Wade, a couple guys that went to Bremen Academy. And I remember thinking like, wow, during that year, I was like, yo, I'm in love with this game. I really love this. I'm in love with this game. And it was because of that AAU year.
Yeah.
Because of Mickey Allen, really. So
that's cool.
Small world in and of itself.
No.
Yeah. I would say mine. I mean, I truly don't have a singular moment. I literally was shooting basketball in my diaper on a Tyke school because my older brother was a big basketball guy, Sam, big basketball guy. And he made me listen to the Space Jam soundtrack. He had me going on all the basketball stuff. So I want to be like Sam. So,
yeah. I mean, I always liked it. That was just that was the time period that I realized I was like in love with it as opposed to, just liking it. But sorry, that's my little tangent.
Love it.
Yeah. I couldn't. Maybe, I don't know. Chris Lofton definitely helped. I can say that much. He definitely helped. I think after Chris Lofton came to Tennessee, it was like, I want to be Chris Lofton. But basketball is still my favorite sport.
And you were just like him. You made a ton of threes, couldn't guard anybody.
No. Come on. That's your Lexington boy. Oh, that's funny. That's funny, Coach. But all right, so not recapping, but just going into the rest of the year, what's the rest of the year looking like? Now that we've got everything kind of everybody back on the squad, we got a big win against Liberty. Second day was a little tougher. Didn't have as great of a performance from Hassan, and that's our workhorse. So I mean, he's got a lot of load, but I'm just asking, I guess, what are we looking like moving forward?
Well, we've got to continue to just get everybody together and on the same page and practicing and those kind of things. And, there's certain guys who've missed a lot of time who honestly aren't in as good a shape as they normally would be at this time of year. So we got to continue to do that, work on our fitness there. And then, we're navigating something new this year as well with just conference play, and that we're playing one opponent on back-to-back nights. So we're playing Friday, Saturday.
We're doing the same.
Yeah, against the same opponent.
I'll talk about that in a second. Keep going, Coach. But we're not doing that.
You're not doing that? Yeah,
no, we're not.
That's right. I forgot about that. So that's different. We've talked to some football coaches, how do you navigate a whole week leading up to the weekend, those kind of things. And, what do you do as far as rest and, when do you start game prep and, all those different types of things. And then you get into a situation like, we felt like we played really well in our first game against Liberty, and we shot the ball well, we defended well, and we ended up getting the win. And then you got to talk about, the maturity of your team to come back the next day, knowing that you're going to play a good team again who's going to make adjustments. And do you have the maturity to handle success? And do you have the maturity to handle it when you don't have success, and how are you going to bounce back the next day? And are you going to be hungry? And, are you able to make changes in the game without really having a day of prep for it? You just have to talk about it and walk through those things. And so we're still navigating and finding some of that out right now. And it'll probably be toward the end of the year when we figure all that out and what the rhythm is for us that's best, those kind of things. So We have 2 really difficult games coming up this weekend that people don't realize. We're playing Bellarmine at Bellarmine, and they're moving up from Division II, but they are good.
They were a powerhouse.
They were a powerhouse there. They played Duke well. They played Notre Dame well. They played Chattanooga well. They moved it. They're unique in the way they move the ball. I don't know anybody who plays the same style that they do and move it as quick as they do. It's kind of like the Belmont teams, except they don't have a post player that's in there. It's all 5 guys moving, but the ball just gets moved quickly all around, and back cuts and different things. So they're going to be a real challenge for us this weekend. We're going to have to play well. But in our league, it's every week that way. The teams have really, really improved over the last few years to the point where this league is difficult every night. There's not an easy night that you have in our league. So is our team going to have the maturity to handle that as well? So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to try to navigate that with them and teach them along the way of how to approach these games and how to approach the weekends and those kinds of things.
No New Jersey trips, though.
No New Jersey trips, which is good and bad. Didn't you guys enjoy spending a little time in New York City?
I did. That was like one of the best trips.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, that was super cool.
Everybody but Eli Pepper, who was miserable the whole time and talked about how horrible it was.
First of all, Eli's miserable anywhere outside. So don't take his opinion for that.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I just kind of wanted y'all to hit on the different dynamic this year of playing back-to-back conference games against the same opponent 2 nights in a row. But y'all hit on it, so I just want to know kind of how y'all approached it and what was going into that, because it's just certainly different. Obviously,
very different.
Everything else is that's a completely different mindset going into each week.
Right.
The normal way, but no, y'all hit on it pretty much. So
Asa, did you have a question for Coach Idstrom regarding books?
I just I brought up his quote. There was never a great leader that wasn't a great reader. I just wanted to know if you had, and I read that the one book never mind. You didn't give me that book. Josh gave me another book called The Art of an Assistant Coach or something. It was from coach from West Virginia a while back. Anyway, do you have any good books recently that you've read or that you've heard about or anything?
Yeah,
besides Training Camp and Energy Bus.
Besides all the John Gordon books, yeah.
Yes.
But I think John Gordon is tremendous, by the way.
Phenomenal.
But I get how you guys think that you're a little tired of it, for sure.
So, we love it. We love it.
I'm going to tell you, just to be honest, I'm a wannabe reader more than I am a reader. I am more of a book collector than a book reader right now, and that's bad because I've got
take your word and when
I've got no. I'm reading. Hold on. I'm reading, but I've probably got 15 books that I haven't read sitting on my shelf that I need to read, and that's one of the commitments I've made is literally every day I'm going to read, and I'm watching less TV. Those kind of things. My wife Jennifer and I have decided we're not going to watch as much TV, and we're going to read and do some of that. But there's a book. It's got a strange name, but it's tremendous, and it's by a local guy in Nashville, Stephen Mansfield, and it's called Mansfield's Book of Manly Men. And what it does is it takes character traits and it matches those with certain men who are leaders from around the world. And I'm just telling you, if I had to tell anybody one book to pick up and read, that's the book, Mansfield's Book of Manly Men.
He's a Nashville guy?
He's a Nashville guy. Yep. And he lives here in Washington, D.C., kind of splits time between the two cities. But lately I've read a book that's, what is it? Compete Every Day. And it's a really good book. Jake Thompson wrote it. He's a guy from Dallas, Texas, and it's really good. And then kind of in that same vein, the one I just started is by one of my favorite author, a guy named Mark Batterson is his name, and he wrote the book. It's called Win the Day. And I'm just getting into that one, but he's written several incredible books. In the Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day, Chase the Lion, The Circle Maker, which is about prayer, those kinds of things. So I any kind of leadership book, Craig Groeschel, Andy Stanley, Simon Sinek, there's so many good books out there.
Yeah. Simon's really good.
Yeah.
But all right, Coach. Well, we're wrapping up here, but is there anything you would like to leave us or the listeners before we head on out?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I have anything profound to say, but other than I'm going to say this about you guys, like this podcast, not me tonight, but this podcast has been a lot of fun. Has been a lot of fun with you guys, and honestly, to listen to the banter of you guys has been a lot of fun. Going back, it reminds me of the locker room and bus trips and hotel rooms when Asa just says some of the craziest things to get everybody going, and you guys go back and forth. And I want to know what Asa had to get off his chest tonight. I didn't hear that.
Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one.
All right, I can't wait to hear it. I'm going to listen in. So, but no, I've enjoyed it. You guys keep doing this, and you're going to keep building on it. You'll keep getting better at it, and you definitely get better guests in 2021 as this goes on. And so keep.
It's already started well.
I'm proud of you guys. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate it, Coach. I appreciate it, Coach.
You said you were a little leery when you heard we were starting a podcast. I was about to say, well, you weren't leery about Nate. It had to be me. You were.
No, it was both. It was both. There is no doubt. We're not giving Nate a pass on that.
We appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach. Hey, where could people find you on Twitter?
It's at Roger Idstrom.
All right, at Roger Idstrom. Don't go looking for Asa, as always, starting the new year the way he left off 2020. So don't look for it. It's been hacked, still hacked. You can look for me at Nate5_Moran. You can find us on Twitter at MindOfACoach1. You can find us at Instagram at MindOfACoach, myself at Nate5_Moran, at Asa at the Asa Spades with a Z on the end. And Coach, same for Instagram?
Yes, same for Instagram at Roger Idstrom.
At Roger Idstrom. All right, Coach. Well, we appreciate you joining us this week and look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Absolutely. Love you guys. See you.